The channel we're responding to today is not only stupid, it's cringe. You guys know Orphan Red, I covered her a while back. She's a flat earther, and in all her videos, she just laughs pretending to be cute and shit. Come on, that's the fakest shit I've ever seen.
I was all cute!
Orphan Red, if you're watching this, I just want you to know to stop doing that. Stupid and cringe is a deadly combination. At least one of those two you can control.
And this, I think, seems to be very misunderstood, even by people who tell me that they're very educated in my comments section. Or they tell me that they are very intelligent, and that the reason that we see the horizon is because of the curve of the Earth. No, it's because of this. Curve of the Earth.
This goes on for quite a while, so I'm gonna save you guys the headache by editing some out.
Oh my goodness, people are so funny. Okay, so there's something else that I want to talk to you about that ties into this, which is even more ridiculous. These globe earthers who say, if things are sufficiently far away and large enough, then you can see them beyond the curve.
What the fuck? Yeah, of course. If something is tall enough, you should be able to see it over the curve, given that it's not too far away, of course. Why is that so hard to understand?
And I'm not just talking about the Chicago cityscape that was seen. It was just a mirage.
That has nothing to do with something being quote-unquote big enough to be seen over the curvature. That is a superior mirage, and just because you don't have the proper knowledge of physics to understand it doesn't make it false.
I'm actually talking about things like lighthouses and towers, and global earthers are so funny. They cling to their beliefs so much that they come up with these random explanations that don't make any sense.
You know what? I'm gonna give you a chance. Let's see what you have to say. Well, would you look at that? Orphan Red is telling us which way we're actually looking, and she can confirm that we only look at the horizon tangent to where we are standing. Ahaha, ridiculous. First of all, your shitty drawing is awful. The Earth isn't that tiny, you fucking moron. Enlarge the Earth a bit and you can see that our site of the lighthouse is very, very close to being tangent to the ground we're standing on. So while I see the confusion, it's not excusable. You've drawn a lot of flawed Earth models in the past, and all of them you draw the Earth extremely small, but that's not how it is. The Earth is absolutely massive. Do you have some problem understanding that? Alright, well, to be honest guys, this isn't the video I was originally planning to respond to, so let's jump to the one that's even more ridiculous than this one. I'll be joined by two guests, Telltale and Slightly Immune. They're here to help me keep my sanity.
Here is what is killing science and ushering in the age of scientism, which, to be honest, it's not we are already in the age of scientism.
Scientism. I looked up scientism and here's what I found. Excessive belief in the power of scientific knowledge and techniques. I feel like people misunderstand what science actually is. Let's take the scientific method, for example. Here are the steps in the scientific method. 1. Make an observation. 2. Gather information about the observation. 3. Form a hypothesis, which describes what was observed, and make predictions off of it. 4. Test the predictions in a repeatable way. 5. Analyze the data, draw conclusions, modify the hypothesis. 6. Reproduce the tests and refine the hypothesis until the hypothesis perfectly describes the observation. This has worked for us for hundreds of years. What has changed about science in the past, say, 30 years that suddenly makes it untrustworthy?
It's that scienters, who once were called scientists, but since they have failed to do science and have began to only engage in the practice of scientism.
Bitch swear.
Oh, great. Another bullshit made-up word that has no basis in reality. Who decides which scientists are actually scienters? This isn't an attempt to discredit any science you don't like, is it?
They no longer get to bear the title of scientist. You're not my boss.
Look, lady, nobody is trying to be your boss. But if you're scientifically incorrect, you can expect scientists to correct you. If you don't like that, then leave the science to people that actually understand it.
From now on, also retroactively, I will only call them scienters. Unless they actually start practicing real science, in which case they get to call themselves scientists again.
It can't be retroactive because you already said it. I know you think you're cute, but you kinda piss me off. It's manufactured and fake. I cannot stand it. Please give it up.
What scientists are failing to do that a proper scientist does is
Agree with me, of course. If you don't agree, then you're a scienter.
generate alternative models for any observation. So you have an observation, you collect your data, you analyze it, and then before you have your conclusion, you have to interpret the data. And when you interpret the data, you can use different assumptions, different models.
Hey, dumbass, that is how science works. Who are you criticizing here? Are you saying that a single branch of science has gotten it completely wrong because they don't know how to do science? There isn't even a branch of science dedicated to proving a globe Earth. We don't even need that branch of science. This was proven as fact years and years ago. Everything that comes out of your mouth pisses me off.
Thank you, Telltale. Your brain probably exploded from the stupidity after that, so I'll take over from here.
And the different models have different assumptions that underlie their differences.
It's hard to actually have a proper discussion here without you giving a specific example. What different models are there because of different assumptions? Sure, we've had plenty of models that attempted to describe the same thing. Isn't that what you want? However, eventually we are able to determine that a model doesn't fit reality, and as a result we bring in another model that is possibly newer and describes reality better than the previous one. For example, we've had several models of the structure of the atom. We've had many models depicting enzyme-substrate complexes. We've had many models on the cell membrane. But older models that were proven to be false were simply discarded, while better models became accepted. So technically we have been producing many models, it's just that some get thrown away for being false, just like how your flat earth model has been discarded.
And so then the different models will lead to different conclusions.
Yes, they do draw different conclusions, but like I said just now, false models are discarded.
And all of that is based on how you choose to interpret results and what theories you bring to bear.
This conversation is getting way too difficult because you're not giving a specific example. But no, interpretation of results or any research in general are always based on previous knowledge of the topic. Knowledge that has already been proven to be true and is accepted by the scientific community. If you use any knowledge or models that aren't accepted scientifically, then your research is essentially useless. That's why before anyone starts a proper research topic, they do some very intense reading on previous scientific papers related to the topic. If you can't follow what science already knows, then you might as well just not do your research.
And if you're a real scientist, then you say, here is the conclusion when we interpret the data using this model, and here's an alternative conclusion based on a different model that's equally valid.
Oh, so now you think you have the authority to say if someone's a scientist or not? Ridiculous. The problem is, for each scientific topic, we usually have one model. If we had different valid models that reach different conclusions, then only one of them is actually correct, and that correct model gets to stay to be used by science while the other one is discarded. You see, truth isn't subjective. Truth doesn't care what you believe in, so why keep any models that don't lead to this truth?
And that way, you give your readers not just the choice of which conclusion they prefer, knowing that their choice is personal preference. It's not that one is necessarily more valid or more true or more accurate. It's just one of them supports the beliefs that you hold on to only because it suits your whimsy, not because it's more true.
Like I said earlier, truth isn't subjective. You can't just choose what the truth is. If I tell you in a hospital bed that you have lung cancer supported by the presence of a mass in your lungs and that the treatment is drug A, are you gonna go like, no, that's not my truth. I think I have prostate cancer instead. Give me drug B. Does that change at all the fact that you have lung cancer? No, it doesn't. If we reach the correct conclusion that the earth is round, does your interpretation of it being flat make it so? The interpretation of the results by the researcher or reader doesn't change the truth. You only arrive at the truth or you don't arrive at the truth. Those are the only two options.
And when you do that, you allow science to go further, faster.
Or instead, you would completely hinder the progress of science, in which case you would. When a scientist writes a paper about a specific finding, other scientists are going to use its discovery to conduct further research. How would that be possible if the first scientist gave multiple conclusions?
Because rather than say, here's one conclusion based on this one model, and it's the only conclusion, and so then everyone is then having to take that one conclusion and run with it, and so you end up narrowing where science can go and what topics it can explore.
That's actually the desirable result. If science heads in any direction that is false, we are essentially wasting our time, just like how your video wasted the time of 1,300 viewers.
Because you're only allowing findings and conclusions that fit that one paradigm.
Yes, we want to follow the correct model that will lead us to the truth. How is that so fucking hard to understand? You flat earthers crack me up.
Whereas when you acknowledge that there are alternative, and not just acknowledge them by saying, oh yes, I'm sure that there are other alternative conclusions. No, when you specifically state them in your published paper and you say, this could be our conclusion from our data, but this other conclusion is equally valid, and here it is. And why not throw in a third?
You know, as someone who most obviously isn't a scientist, you sure are making some outlandish claims on what science should or shouldn't be. Like Telltale said, leave the science to the actual experts.
We interrupt your daily dose of stupid to bring you this message from your supreme cosmic overlord and resident of hell, Slightly Immune.
Greetings, beautiful people. I apologize for interrupting what I'm sure was a thoughtful and well-argued point from Stickman, but I just felt the need to explain to Mrs. Red that not only does science not care about her personal preferences or what she chooses to call it, but it doesn't need to provide models of the universe that are either outdated or just incorrect because it tickles her feelings and makes her feel all warm and fuzzy inside. You know, at first when Stick showed me your video, I played troll and not a troll with it and came to the conclusion that this video couldn't possibly be real or serious, but to my dismay, it turns out that not only do you believe your own horseshit, but that you have some way more fringe ideas than even this, so I guess that's a thing. You like to use the word assumption quite a lot in reference to what you think a scientific theory is, and what this demonstrates is that not only do you lack a grasp of what science is, but that you of all people should not feel that they are qualified to speak on the truth of the universe, let alone accuse us real scientists of being part of this scientism, as you call it. To put it in terms that your small and fragile mind would understand, science is the process of making an observation, asking a question, formulating a hypothesis, usually in the form of an if/then statement, and then performing an experiment, collecting the data, seeing if your hypothesis was correct or incorrect, reforming that hypothesis, and then repeating it over and over and over again. One does not come to a true scientific conclusion lightly and must endure the brutal and rigorous peer review circuit in order to even be taken remotely serious by anyone qualified to matter in the field of science that research takes place in. It is for this reason that your precious conjecture of a flat earth, for lack of a better term, falls flat, and no one other than people looking for confirmation bias or are absolutely insane would ever take you seriously. Alright, Sticky, this crab's out. Peace.
Thank you, Slightly Immune. I couldn't have put it better myself. Now, before I end this video, I'm going to show you a comment I left in her comment section. Absolutely ridiculous. I work in a lab that studies the relationship between a certain protein's activity and ovarian cancer. Please tell me in what other models could I apply to reach any other plausible conclusions? To which she replied that both the differences in protein's activity correlated with ovarian cancer and ovarian cancer itself both share an underlying cause rather than differences in the protein's activity having a causal relationship with the cancer. Telltale comes in saying, so really what you're saying is correlation does not equal causation, but you have no idea what evidence they have to the presumed cause. Finally, I told her that I will be making a video response to her and that I'll be expecting her own response if she chooses to do one. And here's the funny part. She then replies that she won't do a response because she quote-unquote doesn't respond to trolls, and immediately she deletes this entire comment thread. See how scared she is? She's so afraid of me making a response to her comment that she ended up deleting the entire comment thread. Now, it's a shame she doesn't exactly know how deleting comments work. When you delete my comment, I can still see the comment itself. This is how I'm able to provide the screenshots you see here. However, no one else can see my comment, so if you go to the original video, you won't be able to find my comment anymore because she deleted it. Now, why would you delete it, Orphan Red? Censorship, perhaps? Good luck deleting this video I made, and my offer still stands, by the way. If you make a response video to this, then I will watch it and I will comment. It's your choice on whether you'd rather run away or not. Oh, and also your reply to my comment was completely retarded. If we used your method to find truth to cancer behavior, we wouldn't have modern medicine today, and it's very obvious you don't know how cancer and its research works, because the former option you proposed as a counter is completely idiotic. Sure, there are times when we would be seeing any additional protein activity along with cancer development in some cases, but when researchers jump into a specific field in cancer to research, we would be able to already know what kind of protein pattern to expect. For example, the protein we are looking at is a MAP kinase protein. We can expect it to phosphorylate an essential downstream target protein, which then can promote uncontrolled cell growth. If we look at it from another perspective, we can possibly head in the wrong direction. In many cases like this one, we must stick to the knowledge we already control to further the understanding of cancer. So you're wrong. Good thing you deleted this comment though, so that no one else's head will explode from the stupidity. Anyway, that's my time. I'll see you guys in the next video, and meanwhile, I'll be keeping an eye on you, Orphan Red.